In the first part of this video, you will learn how to use Gmail, from the most basic features to more advanced configurations. In a second time, we will see how you can manage and share your calendars with the Google Calendar application. In Gmail, you will find all the features you commonly use in any other email application, along with other great features you will discover in this video. The first thing to know is that Gmail is not an application that you need to install on your computer. Instead, you will simply access it via a web browser, the same way you would access any other website on the internet. This way, you can access your whole Google Apps environment, including your emails, contacts, calendars, from any computer, as long as you have an active internet connection. Google Apps is compatible with the latest versions of the most commonly used web browsers, such as Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, or Safari. While your experience should be the same on any of those web browsers, Google Chrome will offer you some extra features, such as drag and drop support or desktop notifications. The first step to connect to Gmail is to access the login page at the address mail.google.com. You can either type this URL in the address bar of your web browser or simply click on the Gmail link you will find at the top of any Google web page. At this step, you just need to enter your full Google Apps email address and your password, then click on the Sign In button to be redirected to Gmail. If you check the Stay Signed In option, your session will stay open even if you close your web browser. This way, you won't need to enter your credentials again next time you want to check your inbox. Just make sure to keep this option unchecked if you are using a shared or public computer. We are now on Gmail. On every Google application, you will see at the top of the screen this black navigation bar that gives you access to the other available services. When you click on the link, you can notice that the page is open in a new tab. Try to get used to switch between your tabs instead of opening new ones each time you want to switch back to any application. You will also find your email address on the right side of the screen. If you click on it, you will find the disconnect button when you want to close your session. When you open Gmail, you automatically land on your inbox and have a quick information on how many unread messages you have. Let's start by composing a new message. Just click on the Compose button to open the Compose window. At the time I am doing this video, this is the current version of the Compose window, but Google is about to release a new one. It will have the exact same features, but will appear in a distinct panel like this one, so you can do other things while you are writing your email. The first field available is the To field. You can add the CC or BCC fields just by clicking on the matching links. As soon as you type something, Gmail automatically suggests a list of contacts that match the letters you typed, either on their first name, last name, or email address. The suggested contacts are retrieved from your own contact list or from the domain directory. Gmail also keeps in memory all the email addresses you already have been writing to. You can also click on the header of the field to open your contacts and quickly select the ones you want to add. Enter the subject of your message, and then you can start writing the content of your email. You can use different kind of formatting options to create your email. Gmail also has a built-in feature you can use to check your spelling. Just click on Check Spelling to highlight the words that Gmail considers as misspelled. You can then click on each one to display the list of suggested corrections. As soon as you create a new message, Gmail automatically creates a new draft and saves it regularly. For example, if I add some content here, you can notice that within a few seconds, my message has been saved. This way, even if you never hit the save button, you will always find the last version of your message in the draft section. Before sending your message, you might want to attach files to it. To do so, you can either click on the Attach a File link and select your files on your computer, or directly drag the files into the window and drop it into the area that appears. You can this way attach up to 25 megabytes of files, as long as you don't include any executable file, such as a .exe file or any application. You can now hit the Send button to send your email. It will then appear in the Sent Mail section of your mailbox. Let's go back now to our inbox. A great thing about Gmail is that your messages are organized in conversations. For example, when you send an email to several people, instead of having a new line in your inbox for each response you receive, here everything is gathered in the same place. Let's take this one for example. We can see that I had a conversation with 2 other people that contains 4 messages. You just need to click on a conversation to open it and have before you all the history of what has been said, from the first message at the top to the most recently arrived, which is opened at the end. Just click on any header to visualize a specific message. Click again to close it back. Since you have multiple messages in the same view, you can take actions on the whole conversation or simply on a specific message. For example, you can click on the delete icon to move the whole conversation to the trash. But you can also delete a specific message thanks to the menu you will find at the top right corner of each response. You will find in this menu many other options, such as print, translate, or mark as unread. You can also use this menu to reply to your messages. Once again, since several people can interact in the same conversation, you can choose to reply to everybody in the conversation using the Reply to All option, or just to the contacts from a specific message. In that case, just hit the Reply option from the menu of the message in question. The general idea around conversation is, as long as you keep replying to a message without editing the subject, your message will be part of the same conversation. If you modify the subject or create a new message, it will then be a new conversation. From your inbox, when you receive a new message in a conversation, the whole conversation will get back to the top and show as unread, so you can't miss any new message. So conversations are really useful. They allow you to easily organize, search, and visualize a whole discussion at the same place. But if for some reason you find it more disturbing than helpful, you still can disable it in the general settings of Gmail. If we stay in your inbox, you might have noticed those 2 icons in front of your messages. The first one allows you to start a conversation. If you click on the gray star, you will enable it and then find your message in the star section of your mailbox. Just click on the star again to remove it. It works a bit like a bookmark if there is any conversation you need to consult regularly. The second one is called the importance marker. It is quite similar to the star icon, as if you mark a message as important, it will appear in the important section of your mailbox. The difference is that Gmail will automatically mark some messages as important, depending on how you've treated similar messages in the past. It can also be based on criteria such as the sender or if you are the direct recipient of the message. This feature can also be disabled in the Settings panel under the Inbox tab. A last trick we will see is how you can switch between inbox types. By default, You will always find your most recent messages at the top of your inbox. You can change this organization via the menu that appears when you hover over the inbox label. You can, for example, display your unread messages first, or important messages first, or switch back to the classic inbox. The priority inbox lets you customize different sections in your inbox. For example, you can place your unread messages at the top, followed by the 5 last important messages, and then all the other ones. We will now see how you can use labels to organize your mailbox. Labels can be used exactly the same way as folders, but they also offer extra flexibility. Your labels are located on the left side of your mailbox. I will start with the few labels I have here, and then I will show you next how you can create yours. This little frame here is the chat module. I will just hide it for now. We will talk about it later. The main idea around labels is that you won't move your emails into folders like you might be used to doing, but instead you will apply labels on your emails. For example, I can take my invoice label from the list and simply drag it to this conversation. So while it's still in my inbox, my conversation is now tagged with my invoice label. You can quickly do this for multiple conversations if you select them beforehand, or via the label menu that allows you to apply several labels at the same time. You can now have a quick overview of the subjects of your messages, and also easily filter only one kind of messages by clicking on a label. For example, if I want to display all my invoices, I can just click on my invoice label to filter them. The strength behind labels is that you can apply multiple labels on the same conversation. For example, I can add the urgent label to this conversation, which already has the invoice label. This way, I will find this conversation into my inbox if I click on my invoice label, and also if I click on urgent. The only thing to understand is that you have different ways to display this conversation, but it is still the same. What I mean is if I click on the urgent label, select my conversation, and then click on delete, I won't find it again in my inbox. The message always stays unique and is never duplicated. Now, if you open the conversation, you will see at the top all the labels you applied. You can remove one just by clicking on the little cross. The inbox label is automatically applied on all the messages that arrive in your inbox. We just saw how to apply labels on your messages. If now you want to remove a message from your inbox, you have two solutions. The first one is to send it to the trash. Just select your message and click the delete button to delete the conversation. You will then find it into the trash. Deleted items are kept available for 30 days and are then removed for good. Until then, you can manually restore them. The second solution is to archive it, using the Archive button. Your message will be removed from your inbox, but will keep the labels you applied beforehand. Actually, the only thing you do when clicking on the Archive button is removing the inbox label from your message. So, if I archive this conversation, it will be removed from my inbox, but I will still find it under those two labels. It is often a better idea to archive a message instead of deleting it. In Gmail, you have 25 GB of space for your emails, which is more than enough to keep archived messages. You can have an idea of your quota usage at the very bottom of the page. Another quick way to archive a message into a specific label is to simply take it from your inbox and drag it on the label.
This way, you can use labels exactly the same way you would do with folders. If you remove all the labels from a conversation, you will still find it in the All Mail section, which gathers absolutely all the messages you have in your mailbox. Some labels might be hidden, so if you can't find one, just click on More Labels to make them appear. You will also find here, at the very bottom, the Create New Label link. Click on it to create a new label. After choosing a name, you can decide whether your label will appear at the top level or if it will be nested under an existing label. You can nest labels to create an hierarchy of sublabels, as you would do with folders. Once your label is created, when you hover over it, you can see a menu that appears on the right. This menu allows you to assign a color to your label, hide it in the More Labels section, rename it or delete it. Keep in mind that if you delete a label, you will not delete the messages tagged with it. They will still be available under the Others label or in the All Mail section. Another great feature of Gmail is the integration of a powerful search engine. The search bar at the top of the screen allows you to perform quick searches on one or multiple keywords. For example, if I do a research on the word training, all these results have the word training somewhere. It could be either in the sender, the subject, the body of the mail, or also the name of an attachment. If you go now on the right side of the search bar, you can click on Show Search Options. You can now fill one or more fields to perform more advanced researches and target specific messages. For example, I can ask Gmail to give me all the messages I received from Mr. Use about a training and that have an attachment. If you pay attention, you can notice that filling the fields actually builds a search query based on keywords, which means you can directly use those keywords when you do a research. For example, if I want all the messages I received from my colleague Alexandre, I can either enter his name in the From field or directly enter the keyword From, followed by his name in the search bar. Those search options are really useful to quickly find any message of your mailbox. We can also use this panel to create filters. Filters allow you to set up automatic actions on your incoming messages. For example, you can ask to archive all the messages from a specific sender into one of your labels. To set up a filter, we will use the same fields as for an advanced research. Fill those fields to specify what emails you want to filter. For example, I want all my invoices to be automatically archived under my invoice label. So I fill the fields to identify those messages and then click on Create Filter with this search. Here you can specify the actions to take when such a message is received. For my case, I will choose to apply my label Invoices and also to skip the inbox, so the mail will be directly archived under the label. You will also find many other options, if for example you want to store your message or directly forward it to someone else. Before clicking on the Create Filter button, I can choose to apply those actions to the emails that already are in my inbox and match the criteria I defined. So the one I already have will also be moved to my label. You can create this way several filters to set up automatic actions. You will find all of them in the Gmail settings under the Filters tab. Let's see now what you can find in the Gmail settings. There are many options you can configure to fine-tune your mailbox. To go to the Gmail settings, click on this icon on the top right corner of the window, and then on Settings. You will find in the first tab all the general settings. Let's check the most important ones. You can here configure the language of Gmail and also how many messages you want to see on each page of your inbox. The next option lets you enable keyboard shortcuts. If you spend a lot of time on your mailbox, it can become very useful. You can display the list of all the keyboard shortcuts if you type the question mark key. You have here the option to disable the conversation mode we saw a bit earlier. If you choose to disable it, each message you receive will appear as a new line in your inbox. By default, when you start a message, a yellow star will appear right before it. Here, you can add extra icons by dragging them in the In Use area. You can now click multiple times on the star to select one of your icons. If you are using Google Chrome, you can enable desktop notifications. This is a little frame that appears on your window when a new mail or chat arrives, even if your browser is not in focus. You can here set up a picture that your contacts will see when you send them a message. You will also find the option to configure your signature that will be inserted at the end of all your new messages and replies. Enable the option and then set up your signature thanks to the formatting options you have. You can also insert links or images. Just under, you will find the option to enable the personal level indicators. This will add small arrows before your messages to let you know who this email is for. One arrow means that this message has been sent explicitly to your address. Two arrows mean that you are the only recipient of this message. To finish, you will find the option to configure a vacation responder to send automatic responses to people that try to reach you between specific dates. You can choose to send those messages only to people that are from your domain, only to people from your contacts. You can check both options or keep them unchecked to send it to everyone. Don't forget to save your changes when you do any modification in the settings. In the second tab, you will find all the labels of your mailbox. For each one, you will have the option to show or hide it from the left, rename it, or remove it. Keep in mind that removing a label doesn't delete any message. The Inbox tab lets you disable the importance marker we saw a bit earlier to only keep the yellow star. You also have the option to switch between the different types of inbox, as we did already from this quick menu, or to configure your priority inbox. The Account tab is useful if you want to change your password. You also have the ability to delegate your account to someone else. When you delegate your account, you give someone else the right to connect to your mailbox from his own account, without giving him your password. This person will then be able to read your emails, but also to send emails on your behalf. You will find all the accounts you have access to when you click on your email address. Then you can easily switch between those accounts. In the next tab, you will find all the filters you created. From here, you can edit them to adjust some criteria or delete them. You have the option to export your filters. This will give you a file that you can import in another account to recreate all your filters automatically. The Forwarding tab gives you the option to set up an auto-forwarding rule for every message you receive in your mailbox. You can here define the forwarding address and also decide what record you want to keep of those messages. Do you want to keep them in your inbox, mark them as read, archive them, or just delete them? On the next tab, you will find the chat settings. There are some options you might want to know about. Firstly, you have the possibility to totally disable the chat module. The second option is about the chat history. If you choose to save your chat history, you will find all your conversations under the All Chat label. This last option defines if you want to automatically add suggested contact to the chat. It's usually a good idea to disable this option, since you don't want anybody to be able to contact you via the chat. The last tab we will talk about is a tab called Labs. You will find here a long list of additional features you can enable to customize your Gmail experience. Let's check the most important ones. Inserting images adds a new button to the toolbar when you compose a message to simply add images to the body of your email. Preview pane gives you the ability to read a message directly from your inbox. It adds a button at the top of your window to display the preview pane either at the bottom or the right of the window. Click again on it to hide it. Right side chat moves the chat module to the right side of your window. I like it because I think it feels a bit more organized this way. You keep your labels on the left and put your chat contacts on the right side. Signature Tricks is one of the labs you should enable. By default, when you make a reply, your signature is placed after all the previous messages. This lab places it back at the right place, right after your message. Another lab that is essential, in my opinion, is the Undo Send lab. When you enable it, a new option is available in the general settings that lets you configure between 5 and 30 seconds to cancel the sending of a message. This can save you in many situations. For example, if you forgot to attach a file to your message, or just sent it accidentally before it was finished. The last one that can be useful is the Canned Responses lab. It allows you to save messages as templates that can be easily reused in the future. We just saw here the one that I consider as essential. Feel free to browse the entire list to see if another one can eventually meet your needs. To finish about Gmail settings, you might have noticed this tab mysteriously called Offline. In this tab, you will find the link to install the Gmail Offline application that lets you read and organize your recent messages, even if you don't have any internet connection. This link actually redirects you to the application on the Chrome Web Store, which means that it's only available on Google Chrome. Once installed, it will be available as a Chrome application. This last tab lets you customize the appearance of Gmail with different kind of themes. From now on, you pretty much know everything about Gmail and should be ready to use it efficiently. There are two more things we need to talk about before switching to Google Calendar. The first one is how you can manage your contacts, and then I will quickly present the chat module. To access your contacts, you can click on the link on your navigation bar, or click on Gmail and Contacts. They are both the same. The first one just opens in a new tab. You will find here the list of your contacts. You can easily visualize the contact's details by clicking on its name, or create a new one by clicking on the New Contact button. and then fill the different fields. The other sections you will find are Most Used, which displays the 20 contacts you use the most, Other Contacts, which gathers all the addresses you have ever written to, and then the Directory, where you will find all the contacts from your domain. You can select contacts from any of these sections to quickly add them to your own contact list. Another interesting thing you can do is organizing them into groups. To create a group, just click on the New Group link at the bottom and give it a name. You can then select contacts from anywhere and add them to your groups. What's interesting when doing this is that you can now send an email directly to your groups, instead of adding your recipients one by one. To finish, you can easily import contacts from somewhere else using this link. And also export your Google contacts in different formats. Let's talk now about the chat module. Just click on this icon to display it back. If you remember what we did before, you can also enable a lab to put it on the right side of the window. This chat module is quite easy to use. You will find at the top your picture next to a small icon representing your availability. If you click on this area, you will be able to change your status from available to busy, or define a custom message your contact will see under your name. You can also appear as offline, or totally disconnect from the chat. Chat Settings is a shortcut to Gmail Settings panel. To start a chat session, just click on any of your available contacts, and a window will appear on the bottom of the screen. Start writing your message, or if available, start an audio or even video conversation. You can use this icon to invite someone else to your conversation, and then dialogue with 2 or 3 different people in the same place. In the plus menu, you will have the option to turn on the private mode, which means that nobody in the conversation will keep any record of what has been said. We will now switch to the Calendar application. You can open Google Calendar by clicking on the link in the black bar at the top of the Gmail window. With Google Calendar, you can create and manage multiple calendars and easily share them. You will see in the My Calendar section your main calendar and other calendars you can manage. In the section Other Calendars, you will see the other calendars that you have access to, such as coworkers or resources. For the moment, I will just stay on my main calendar. You can visualize it in the central space. The controls at the top let you switch between different views and navigate through your calendar. To quickly create an event, you can simply navigate to the selected day and click on the time where you want to create it. Just give it a name and it will appear on your calendar. If you click and hold, you can adjust the amount of time reserved for the event. Once created, you can easily move it or adjust its duration. Click on the event and then on the Edit Event link to add more information or invite guests. You can here modify the date and time of your event. If you check the All Day option, the time will be removed and the event will appear at the top of your calendar. You can also define a period to automatically repeat your event. For example, I can schedule my meeting every 2 Mondays. The first section allows you to enter all the necessary details of your event. If you enter a precise address in the Where field, you will be able to display the location on Google Maps. If Google Plus is enabled, you can schedule a video conference via Hangout. You can also link a document from Google Drive. Just make sure that this document is shared to your guests so they can open it. You can add up to 5 reminders for this event. Reminders can be received in the format of email, pop-up, which is a small window that appears in front of the other windows, or SMS if you configured it in the settings. For those two last options, you usually don't need to change them. By default, all events are shared based on the general shared settings of your calendar. If you mark an event as public, everyone who has only FreeBSD access to your calendar will be able to see the details. If you mark an event as private, only you and the other people who have access to manage your calendar will be able to see the details. On the right, you can enter the email addresses of those you wish to invite. You can then give them different level of rights. Are they allowed to modify the event, add new guests to the list, or simply see the other guests? From here, you can receive resources, such as rooms or vehicles if the administrators created the calendars. Below the event name, there is an option, Find a Time, that allows you to visualize your guest calendar together to see if there is a free moment in all the schedules. You can then move your event to match everybody's schedule. After all the details of the event are correctly set, click on Save to save the event. If you invited people, a box will appear proposing to send an invitation to your guests. You will see all their responses from the event's details. When you've received an invitation by mail, you can respond directly by clicking Yes, No, or Maybe. Your response can always be changed later. There is another way to quickly create an event and invite people to it. From Gmail, when you compose a new message, you might have noticed the Insert Invitation link. It will allow you to quickly create an event and invite your recipients to it without moving from your mailbox. You know how to schedule events and invite guests. Let's see now how you can share your calendar. When you hover over your calendar's name, you will find a menu that allows you to change its displaying color and other settings. Click on Share this calendar to go to the sharing options. You can see here how your calendar appears to others. You can choose to keep your calendar private, make it public, or share it with the entire domain. Decide then if people will be able to see all the details of your events, or just your FreeBSD information. Below, you can manually add different addresses to give specific rights to different people. So if your calendar is shared Show Only FreeBSD, you can grant access to specific people to see all events details, or even give them the access to manage your calendar.
Let's see now how you can consult someone else's calendar. You can add other calendars by typing the email address of a coworker in the Other Calendars box. If you don't have enough rights to view it, you can send a request to have access. If the calendar is accessible, the calendar will be added automatically. When you click on a calendar, the events are added to the current view, in parallel with the other ones. You can this way visualize multiple calendars at the same time. There is a color next to the calendar's name, which will correspond to the color of the events in the calendar. Click again on its name to hide the calendar. If you want to create another calendar, for example for a team or one more personal, you can go to the menu that appears next to My Calendars and click on Create a new calendar. Give your calendar a name and then set up the sharing options we saw before. In my case, I want a calendar more private for this one. I will just share it with one of my colleagues. You will see your new calendar appear under My Calendars with a different color. Now, the only difference is when you create a new event, you will have the option to select under which calendar you want to create it. If you go to the settings of Google Calendar, you will find some options that might be interesting. The first options are related to your language and location. You can specify your time zone or time and date formats. The other options let you configure your calendar. Do you want to display weekends? Do you want to dim past or recurring events on your calendar? Do you want to see the events you have declined? And finally, do you want to add all your invitations to your calendar or only the one to which you have responded? In the Calendars tab, you will see all the calendars you have in your application, the one you manage at the top, and the one you can view below. For each one, you can set up default reminders to apply to all events of this calendar. You will also find other notification options. You can here configure your mobile if you want to enable SMS notifications. It will send you a verification code to enter in this field. For the calendars you manage, you will also find the link to access to their sharing options. To finish, click on Unsubscribe to remove any calendar from your list. Like in Gmail, you will find Labs features you can enable to customize a bit the Google Calendar application. For example, you can enable Hide Morning and Night to hide a part of your calendar.
This video is now coming to an end. You have all you need to know to master Gmail and Google Calendar. Remember that you can access your whole environment from any computer, the exact same way we did all around this video.